All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to KindSoup for the Soul, our Thanksgiving edition, I guess. So glad that you could join us. And for the new folks on the call, just a very brief introduction to KindWorks. We're a nonprofit organization local to the Washington, D.C. area. And we make it easy for busy people to take part in community service activities. And one of the things that we came up with during the pandemic is to make soup together in our respective kitchens, but connected via Zoom. We've been doing it every week for a year now. And we make a huge pot of soup, serve our families for dinner that evening, and share a lot with food banks and shelters and neighbors and people who are feeling sick or feeling down or just need a pick-me-up. And it's been wonderful to build a sense of community, even via Zoom, as we're making soup together. So we're really happy you're with us and so excited to have Alexa lead our soup session today. Alexa, take it away.
Welcome to everybody. I am coming in as Deb. So if you all have a question, please just like blurt it out or a comment because I am relatively new to the Kind Soups. Marge, I feel like from watching the Kind Soups over the last 2 months, I feel like you are the doyenne of the soups and know far more than I do. But I am happy to be here with you all. And we are going to do Martha Rose Schulman's tomato, white bean, and kale soup. And I chose that because I love soup and I have a renewed love for it, joining the Kind Soups. But I remember my mom, when I was younger and I would come visit her, she would make this tomato and white bean soup. And my mom is actually on the Zoom with us tonight. Sarah Clark, that's her friend Linda in the picture, but my mom is there somewhere. So I called my mom up and I said, well, you know, what kind of soup should we do? And I came across the white bean and tomato and kale because I remembered this delicious soup that my mom used to make. And she sent me this recipe and said, let's do this one. So I tried it the other day and it is delicious, as soup usually is. And certainly something that I've really appreciated over, you know, the last couple of months of joining you all on these soups is that soup is flexible, it is forgiving, it is delicious when you put water and onion and garlic and spices and vegetables and beans in. So hopefully this will turn out wonderfully well. So let's get started. So inspired by Olivier's mise en place last week, I have my mise en place ready. I just realized while Summer was talking that I had not gotten the kale out, so I will be chopping that. I do already have my potatoes chopped and sitting in water. If you all are just starting from, you know, chopping and all of that, go for it. I think that this is not gonna, you know, the soup, cooking the soup takes a good hour, but hopefully this should work out. So we can start with putting our oil in and turning it on in the pot and heating that up. And again, this pot that I'm using it's really humongous, and it was a gift from my father and his partner while they were reorganizing their apartment. And I had been cooking all the soups in it ever since I joined Kind Soups, and have really, really been enjoying bringing them in as well as having my mom on the Zoom. So we can start to heat up the oil and put the onions in. I hope you guys did not cry as much as I did when I chopped my onions. So that's going to take a bit of time for them to heat up and get going. Let's see. Oh, I guess Marge isn't there. I was going to ask her a question. But yeah, so heat up the oil and put the onions in. And then once it's nice and heated, we can add the carrot and the celery and a little bit of salt.
I'm back.
Marge, I was just wondering, do you always cook? Somebody mentioned last week that you tend to cook the soups ahead of time. I know that you're in charge of the Har Shalom soups as well.
I did not cook this soup ahead of time. When I'm leading a soup, I'm constantly trying new soup recipes to see how they're going to work out. So that's what I do. So I'll cook it in the normal size dosage, if you will.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, then I'll triple it or quadruple it or, say, gee, it could use this or that. So I do play around with them. I have not, this week I cooked 2 different soups. I got a vegan mushroom soup recipe that's made with almond milk. That turned out pretty good. So I don't know if we'll do it or not. It was easy. It was, it was different. And I also did a very good soup that was sweet potatoes with black beans, like a chili. That was delicious. And we had that. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. My son-in-law got a job offer last minute to go to the Bahamas and had this very tough decision. Should he spend Thanksgiving in the Bahamas or should he spend it in Bethesda? So
yeah, tough choice there.
It was a tough choice. And my daughter said, oh, well, I don't want to spend Thanksgiving without my husband, so I have to go to the Bahamas too. So we did Thanksgiving yesterday and we served that chili, that sweet potato black bean chili was served as kind of a vegetable. And when I put it on the plates, I kind of drained it and didn't let too much of the soup get in. And it worked out well. It was good with turkey. Now I have half a turkey that I don't know what I'm going to do with, but I have to do something with it. So does anyone have a good leftover turkey recipe?
I think that next Monday's soup is leftover soup. So I am sure that there is some fabulous kind of throw turkey and all the other good stuff in a pot and cook it up. But it would be great if
I saw that, except that we have to do Thanksgiving. We're going to do Thanksgiving again. Just the 3 remaining people from yesterday will do a little small Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh, not tomorrow, Thursday. But yeah, we'll do it again. It's very odd, though, when everyone is busy freaking out about buying turkeys and all the things you need to buy. And it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I am done.
You're done. Yes.
The nice thing. So, okay, I have to
go
back. Go ahead.
Yes. I was just going to say, does everybody have their onions in? I'm going to go ahead and put my carrots in. On Saturday, I realized I had tripled the recipe initially, and then I was worried that it was going to be an insufficient amount of soup compared to what everybody is used to cooking. And so I went ahead and quadrupled it. So whether you have the tripled version of the quadrupled version, it will make a good amount of soup. So you have your onions and your celery and your carrots in. And Martha Rochelman says to put in some salt. So I'm going to put in some salt.
I have a quick question regarding onions.
Yes.
I feel like I chopped a lot of onions and it feels like a lot more than actually the carrots and celery. So are you just maybe just covering the bottom with onions?
So yeah, I did. Again, when I cook, I'm kind of like a fly by the seat of my pants cook. And I thought I probably shouldn't do that for this. And so I just thought I'm going to just follow it exactly the way Martha Rochelman in the New York Times says. So this is 4 onions, 4 or 5 stalks of celery, and 4 carrots. And I did make the soup on Saturday, and I can show it to you all in a second. The onions, they weren't overpowering. Because they get cooked well enough. So if you feel like it's too much and you want to, take out some of them, that's okay too.
I must have chopped large ones then.
I got you. Yeah. So
Okay, thank you.
But it's a pretty good mix, and even the recipe said that the celery was, was optional. But I went ahead and did that, I also went ahead and I've heated up my water. If you guys want to do that too, just so that once it's, once all of the vegetables and everything are ready, then the water is hot to put in there, and it'll just cook it that much faster. So when I was thinking about which soups I wanted to do, I settled on this one because I was remembering that soup of my mother's. But my mom and I have a family thing about Julia Child, and so anytime I have a cooking question, I call my mom up and I say, "Is Julia there?" Meaning, are you in the mood to talk about cooking, or are you busy? So I thought, well, I should do a Julia Child soup. I will say that my grandmother was a friend of Julia Child's, and they had correspondence, and so that's why we even like Julia even more than otherwise. But when I looked up on YouTube, Julia Child's best soup, and it's vichyssoise, and I thought, well, it's November, so maybe vichyssoise is like not a great choice. But also I really feel like after the various Afghan soups with the yogurt and the cream, that since we're going to be freezing it, we probably shouldn't do a cream based soup. But there are wonderful videos online of Julia Child making vichyssoise. If you want to check those out in the springtime, that's just a weakened potato and, with water or chicken broth, and then some heavy cream. Mom, Betsy asked if you ever knew Julia.
No, unfortunately.
Wait, you're mute?
No, I'm not mute.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, I did not. But I remember my mother, they went to Smith together. And I remember my mother and another friend going to meet in New York for lunch once a year. And I thought, as a 9-year-old little girl, I thought, what a peculiar thing to do. But then I later realized the value of old friendships. Anyway, so Julia has been a constant theme in our lives. And I'm delighted that Alex has inherited through my mother, Julia's gifts.
Well, hello, David. How are you? I actually don't think I've inherited any gifts, but it was interesting when Deb asked me to lead this soup session, because the way I cook is the way as a child, I watched my mom cook, which was just to kind of throw everything in a pot, and it turned out absolutely delicious. And that's kind of how I cook. I just sort of put things in a pot. And then if it turns out really good, that's great. And I can never, ever repeat it because I don't actually know what I did. So I thought I should just really follow a recipe this time. And that's what's been so amazing watching these kind of soups, is it just turns out so good. If your potatoes are big or your onions are small, or if the beans are not fully cooked and are kind of al dente, it all works out okay. So hopefully everybody's onions and things are getting nice and cooked. And it is kind of a lot of good mirepoix base. I'm sorry that Olivier, I don't think Olivier is on. Let's see, is he? No, I don't see Olivier. That was such a treat last week to have him leading us in the soup. So hopefully these onions and things are cooking down nicely. And then in a few minutes, we'll add another minute or so, we'll add the garlic. And what I'm gonna do is I have the garlic paste, and I have a lot of Iranian friends. And when this is the garlic paste that's gonna go in, not yet, almost. But my Iranian friends, when they make soups and they put garlic paste in there, they kind of put it out. I'll move aside the onions and celery and carrots and kind of cook this on the heat, not super high, but it does something nice to the tomato paste to kind of cook it.
That's the tomato paste, Alexa. Have you put garlic in that as well?
No, I have. No, this is just the tomato paste. So we'll put the garlic into the soup pot once in another minute or so. And then the recipe says just to cook the garlic just for 30 seconds or so before we add the tomatoes. So we're going to put the garlic, and then we're going to put the tomato, the canned tomato. So we might not be able to fry up the tomato paste quite the way I had planned, but that is something that does work well, is when you have the onions and garlic, you can put the tomato paste in and kind of cook it. And then when you put the liquid in, it'll pick it all back up off the ground. But we're just gonna follow the recipe the way Martha Rochelman told us to. So we can put the garlic in now. And she says to cook that for like 30 seconds, just a little bit. Stir that around. And I had my pot on pretty hot, and I'm gonna turn it down a little bit right now.
As everything's cooking, I'm just going to take a minute to introduce Alexa a little bit. I didn't mention that she is on the board of KindWorks, and she was for many years the fearless, indefatigable leader of our refugee support efforts. It was absolutely incredible to see how much heart and soul Alexa poured into really building our support for refugees, particularly in setting up apartments for them. And she continues to be involved. And I've learned so much from her and really admire and respect her very much.
Thank you so much, Shama. I would say exactly the same about you, that you have inspired me. You were the one that brought me to KindWorks. We met so serendipitously, several years ago. And I remember you talking about KindWorks. And then, joining what was it called? The dinner at Carol's house?
The one where we did hummus?
Yeah, when we cooked from Jerusalem. We did the interfaith, but it had a wonderful name to it. And that was my first introduction. So cooking and food was really my introduction to KindWorks. And then, doing the refugee apartment setups and the setup for the homeless families and the women was just incredibly meaningful. So I am so thrilled that KindWorks has restarted that, and that the setups are in the incredibly capable hands of Jean and Kristen and Deb's always incredible power and might in getting things done. So let's now add the tomatoes. Because Martha Rose said that we want to add them in and then kind of let them cook for a few minutes. So because I quadrupled it, I just ended up using large 28 ounces instead of the 14-ounce cans. So once you've got your tomatoes in, we can add a little bit more. We can add a little bit more salt. And then since it's Thanksgiving week, I always am fascinated to hear what different people's favorite Thanksgiving dish is. Do you all have a special dish that you make that is like, when you've made it and it's on your plate, you feel like that's Thanksgiving? Anybody can just pipe on in. I would love to hear, is it a side dish? Is it the turkey? Do you have a special stuffing recipe? Please feel free to share. For me, it's silver palettes, carrot and sweet potato puree. That's the dish that like makes it Thanksgiving for me. Emily said puree, kale and leek side dish. Teresa said butternut squash lasagna. Let me read these. So we've got Emily, pureed kale and leek side dish. Teresa said butternut squash lasagna and grilled lamb. Teresa, do you do lamb in place of turkey? Do you do it plus turkey? That sounds absolutely delicious. Anyone else? So Teresa does it in place of the turkey. Grilled lamb is mouth-wateringly yummy. Marge, did you have a special, you tried the new sweet potato and black bean. Do you have a dish that must be on the plate every year and that you did already this weekend?
I typed it in just now. I make a cranberry applesauce. That's a bag of cranberries and 6 Granny Smith apples and a little bit of sugar. And it's really good. It turns out well every year. But I tried different things. Last week, the Post had a broccolini recipe in there. It wasn't, I was disappointed in it. It wasn't bad, but I wouldn't make it again for Thanksgiving. I might make it as a side, and I would not cook it as long as they said, but you don't know until you try.
Until you try it, and then it's overcooked.
Right, exactly. It was fine. It wasn't great. That's all.
Yeah. Whole cranberry. And does the apples, does it make it sweet enough? You said you added a little bit of sugar. Is it like less than a cup, the usual cup?
Oh, I think it's less than a cup. It's Granny Smith apples though. So the fact that you're using Granny Smith apples, they're pretty tart. So yeah, so you have to add a little sugar to counter between the cranberries and the apples. You need to add a bit of sugar, and it has lemons in it also. I'm telling you, this is not a sweet. Yeah,
it doesn't sound like sweet, but it sounds delicious.
It is. It is lovely. I do like it. I picked up the recipe, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. I make it every year. It's just good. I just like it. So.
That's great. And is it more the consistency of applesauce, or is it, does it stay chunky? Do the apples stay chunky?
The apples break down a little bit more than the cranberries. It's more, you know, I don't typically like gelatinous things. I don't like pies, for example, but this is kind of gelatinous and it doesn't bother me. It's good. And it's, you know, I made it the day before, so it made my life easier. I'll go find a recipe and see who it came from. It came from someone years ago.
Oh, that's great. That is neat. Do others have favorite recipes that make it Thanksgiving? Betsy, do you guys have a special one?
Well, usually our family gathers up in New Jersey, and there are about 45 of us. And so we can't really fit in any one place. So we go to the same restaurant, get the whole floor. So we always kind of joke about the, you know, traditional minestrone soup. But this year we're not traveling for Thanksgiving, and I'm having over my brother and his family and David's sister and her family. And so I've been collecting recipes. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to making is something called Savory bread pudding that my friend Anita had developed and actually won a contest on the Today Show for her Thanksgiving recipe. So it is bread, fennel, cheese, eggs, thyme, also kale, and you kind of bake it and, you know, with this custardy wonderful thing. And so I'm experimenting this year with all the recipes that I long to make every year when we're up in New Jersey.
When you're having the restaurant. That is great. So does it turn out stuffingy, or is it like custard with bread in it?
I will tell you next week. But it's supposed to puff up and get crusty, so it will be in lieu of the
stuffing.
But the turkey we're doing is the one that Padma Lakshmi came up with, the slow roasted turkey with apple gravy. It was from the Times, I think. So that also will be interesting.
That sounds great.
It'll be my pack.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay. Anybody else? One is everybody's stuff coming down. Sorry for my fingers in the way. Is it cooking down? I had tomatoes in sauce, and then I also had again, my history of just sort of throwing things in the pot. To me, it's really okay, particularly with soup, if you just change up your ingredients a little bit, or I'm trying to stick to it the way she wrote it. So my tomatoes have cooked down pretty, they're cooking down. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my tomato paste. I'm not really gonna be able to fry it. I'm just gonna put it in. Kind of stir it around in the rest of the tomatoes. So it looks really, really thick right now, but then I'm about to add 24 cups. So of water. Is everybody doing okay?
Yes, doing well. Smelling good.
It's too bad
So
that
it's-
June doesn't do smell, aroma.
That's right.
I know.
Come up
Well,
with-
we'd all be knocked out by the aromas of everybody's soup coming together. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the water, the tomato paste, the oregano, the potato, and salt to taste. And then we're gonna bring it back to the boil. So I had already chopped my potatoes, and they've been sitting in water so they don't get brown. But first I'm gonna add my water very carefully. And I currently, because my pot is so humongous and heavy, I have my heat on medium. So my tomatoes are definitely bubbling away. I think I might leave out just a little bit of the water. Well, no, I'll put all my water in. Martha Rose knows better than I how much water there needs to be. And I think that if you put in the 24 cups, you will probably have a very big, full pot of soup once we add the beans and the potatoes. So right now what we're adding is we're adding the water, the tomato paste, the oregano, and the potatoes. So I'm gonna add my oregano, which is dried oregano. And the potatoes. And hopefully bring that back up to the boil pretty quickly. So as everybody's soup is coming back up to the boil with the potatoes in it, I would love to hear everybody's ideas on cranberry from a can, jellied cranberry, or fresh cranberry relish, or cooked cranberry. I know that some people are extremely passionate about one kind of cranberry or the other. For me, I love the fresh cranberry sauce. That's the bag of cranberries and a cup of water and a cup of sugar. And I sometimes add some dried peppermint to mine. But my beloved Aunt Jane, who was my grandmother's sister, she used to make us an orange and fresh cranberry. So she'd take the fresh cranberries and put them in the Cuisinart and smush them up with sugar and orange. And I don't know what else, Mom, do you remember? That was it. And it was like really fresh and really, really tart. So that was an uncooked cranberry. And then we always had the cooked cranberry. Is anybody here really passionate about the cranberry from the can? Susan shook her head and walked away. It's okay if anybody does like it. I just like the fresh berry kind better.
And sometimes in one family, you might have one person who craves the cranberry from the can, and everybody else wants the big bowl of fresh cranberry. Well, give them the can.
But Mom, you give them the can?
Have a can in that can shape for one person, and then have a big bowl of fresh cranberry for everybody else.
Yep.
I just remember growing up, there was no such thing as cranberries. I thought cranberries were those things that came in the can and they had the stripes, the ridges, and you could cut along the ridges. And it was fascinating to me. I didn't particularly like it, but it was what it was. And then it was like, oh, look, there are cranberries in the store. Look at this. And they taste great, and cranberry juice is a good thing as well, but who knew?
Definitely. What is quite surprising to me, and obviously this has been happening for quite some time, is when I went quite late to buy Halloween candy, I bought Halloween candy 2 days before Halloween, and they had already switched the candy out for Christmas candy. So I gave out, Reese's peanut butter cups with Santa hats and Christmas trees on it, which was a little disconcerting. But I feel like now too, there's already so much even more Christmas stuff in the stores, alongside of the cranberries and the big, swaths of Brussels sprouts and things. But it is, I do like when each holiday has its, season. All right, I'm going to turn mine up so that it boils faster.
Alexa, are you hosting Thanksgiving dinner?
I am just, my boys have come home and my daughter will come over. And then my husband is Egyptian, and his nephew lives in Fredericksburg where we work. And his wife is an amazing cook. So they'll come up with their 4 kids. They have 11-year-old twins and an 8-year-old girls. And then they have an 8-year-old boy and a 4-year-old boy. So they'll come up. And last year, Nora, my niece, she has chickens. And last year she got the chickens in, I don't know, I think August or something. And she said, Alexa, I got, 10 chickens and 2 of them are growing really differently and they're white. And she ended up raising these 2 humongous turkeys, like the biggest turkeys ever. And, in the villages in Egypt, there is so much sort of just traditional cooking, and, you raise your chickens or your pigeons on the roof. And then when you want to have chicken for dinner, you go and you wring its neck and you pluck it and you clean it. And I'm like, I like to cook, but I was a vegetarian for a really long time. And I like to have really neat pieces of meat, like in a package from the store, preferably. So I definitely am not into killing things and plucking them, but she did send up in this big, cooler of ice, this humongous turkey for me to cook last year. But because of COVID, they didn't come. So I had turkey in my freezer for a very long time. But as my mother will tell you, the last time she came to Thanksgiving at my house, I'm not very good about getting the turkey like all the way cooked. So I was trying to carve it and it was like really time to eat and everything else was ready. And my mom looked over and I was trying to like saw the leg and it was like still kind of raw. And she said, do you think that turkey is really cooked? I said, no, Mom, it's not all the way cooked. And I know that. And I'm trying to get it back in the oven. So I decided this year, I'm just not going to fight with a turkey. I'm just going to roast chickens. Roast chickens I can do. They cook faster. They're different taste, but just as tasty. So I'm giving up on turkey this year.
And I don't remember that Thanksgiving at all. So I'm sure it turned out fine.
I'm sure it was good. I just, raw turkey. So how's everybody's soup looking? Is it getting hot? Emily, how you doing? You're doing well? Welcome, Hannah and Kelly. All right, so we're just gonna kind of let this cook. And once it's boiling, it's said to add the bouquet garni. I went to Trader Joe's the other day and I have rosemary growing in my garden. So I thought I would buy thyme and then I had bay leaves. So I'm just gonna put thyme and bay leaves in this soup today because I don't have any fresh parsley.
Is it dry bay leaves, Alexa?
Yes, it's dried bay leaves. Yeah, I had those. I didn't find those at the store yesterday, but this is fresh thyme. And when I made it on Saturday, I was like, well, I don't know where all these big strings are coming from. It's because all the little thyme leaves fell off. So really, the aromatics of this soup are the dried oregano that we put in, and then this thyme. And so once I'm done, I'll try and pick out the stalks, but not worry if the thyme leaves are fresh in there. So the potatoes are still definitely cooking and mine are still not fully cooked, but I'm going to go ahead and put in the bouquet. one of my bay leaves looks wonky. And just remember, if you're using bay leaf, to take it out before you fish them out before you package up the soup. And you guys totally didn't see that I just completely dropped my spoon all the way into my soup. My soup pot is really quite full, but there's still lots of room, hopefully, for the beans and the kale to go in. And what I did with the kale is I didn't want to fight with washing lots and lots of kale, so I bought the big package like this. And I love kale. I think kale is absolutely delicious. But I ended up just kind of chopping it and putting it into pretty small pieces, just because kale, once it's cooked, can be a little on the chewy side, and so it's nicer to have a smaller mouthful of kale to have to chew. And I did take out all the kind of the hard stalks. Some years ago, I went to New York to see my dad, and I went to Chelsea Market, and they had like a Chelsea Market in New York is like, it was this big kind of old warehouse or meat packing factory or something that had all these cute like little pop-ups in it. And they had this Australian lunch counter, and it had a kale salad that had tahina and lemon juice and golden raisins in it. And it was so delicious. I literally made myself a kale salad every day for a year after that, because it was fresh kale, it was uncooked kale, but then the vinaigrette, breaks, and the lemon juice breaks the kale down. So it was so good. But we're not going to put our kale in quite yet. And interestingly, the recipe says to put the beans in right at the end. Did anybody cook their beans from dry, or was everybody able to find canned beans at the store?
I saw your note about that. Cannellini beans are the same thing as white kidney beans, and Trader Joe's has them.
Oh, do they have them canned?
They have them canned, and it's
Okay.
79 cents a can, which is a great price for canned. It's less than the Giant, unless the Giant has them on sale, and Giant doesn't have those. But you can, as you said in your note, you can interchange the northern whatever,
Right.
Great Northern whatever's for the cannellinis. In fact, I have a recipe that specifically states that. So
Right, yeah. And Betsy just held up her can. Yes, and it's,
It was from the Giant, cannellini beans and
you're
white
lucky.
beans on the shelf, 50 cents a can. So,
Well, yeah, but the Potomac Giant is small and doesn't always have everything. So you're telling me Westbard has them?
yeah. So where I don't buy, my daughter said you can't buy Goya because their politics are not particularly aligned with ours.
Whatever.
So I always look for an alternative.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Giant beans are on sale this month, but yeah, they don't have those up in Potomac, and I didn't know I was supposed to go to Westbard, which is equidistant from my house, but River Road is a nightmare.
Well, fascinatingly enough, when I bought the things last week, and I went, and I'm in McLean in Virginia, and it's like one of the really big Giants. Not a single canned white bean, Great Northern, cannellini, alluvias, nothing. So I bought bags of dried white beans. And then on Saturday, when I thought, I should really try making this soup and just make sure is tripled or quadrupled. Is that, going to be enough? And then I went to the store and I was able to find a few cans. I see, Marge, the white kidney beans. It's in a brown thing. That's good to know, because I just thought, I had no idea that white beans were so popular at Thanksgiving, because the shelf was just empty of white beans. So I was able to find enough, but in quadrupling the recipe and looking up the conversions, I know people have asked before, one bag of 16 ounces, that is equivalent to 4 cans of the canned stuff. And Susan said, let's see. The Harris Teeter is pretty good about always stocking cannellini beans. That's great. And also going back to the cranberry, Emily says that she prefers the canned cranberry. So it's good to know that we have all the different kind. Or with Emily, were you saying canned beans or dry beans? You were saying beans. Okay. So yeah, certainly canned beans are much easier to use.
I did post that cranberry recipe.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I see when I printed it out was 2013. So
Nice. That is great. I'll try and pull it. Maybe Selma, are you able to go into the chat and pull out the link?
The link for the recipe?
Yeah, the recipe for the cranberry apple. Is that what you linked, Marge? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you go to myrecipes.com and look for double cranberry apple or cranberry apple, it's going to come up with that. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's a nice recipe.
I thought we could ask everybody what they are grateful for, since we are the week of Thanksgiving.
That is a wonderful idea.
I'll start. So much that I'm grateful for, but it turns out that my birthday falls on Thanksgiving Day this year. So one of the most special things that I'm grateful for as an empty nester for the first time is having both my kids home. You just, when they're home, you just kind of take for granted that they are home for the holidays and for Thanksgiving and for every special occasion, but to have them home this time when they have flown the coop and are coming back, it feels so special. And to have them, especially on my birthday, that is, yeah, so grateful for that.
That is wonderful. Happy birthday. And Kelly says happy birthday. Betsy, are you going to share?
Oh my goodness. I think all of us feel just an endless gratitude for our health, for the inspired and tremendous role that our healthcare providers are still sacrificing so much, and those who are able to develop and administer vaccines. Like, not a day goes by when I do things that feel normal, and it just feels like an incredibly richer experience after spending a year where we're not able to do that safely. So every day. Thank you.
Hey, salut Olivier. You're here. Welcome.
Hi,
How are you, Olivier?
I'm doing well.
Excellent.
Well,
We are. Oh, well, I was saying at the beginning, Olivier, that that you are a hard act to follow. And that you are much cuter, probably the cutest of all of the presenters, and your soup was so delicious. And it was so delicious that my husband said, can you save extra of that? Because that one is really, really good. Because every week he gets to try the new soup. But he really, really liked your soup very, very much. So I'm glad that you joined us. And Kelly too, I don't know if you had joined when I was saying that the zucchini soup was so good. That was yours, right?
It was. Yeah, I came on late, so I didn't hear you say that.
Yes,
so thank you.
It was just
so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, so good. And again, for me, having joined at with the Afghan soups, these soups that are passed down in families, or kind of American soups that are so good and so delicious, and the rich flavors like the coconut lentil from last week, and like the delicious zucchini soup. So thank you all. And so Selma was saying, what are we grateful this week for, this week and always? Feel free to jump in and share.
Since I'm already off mute, I will say that I am very thankful that we live safely. I mean, especially in light of the Afghans that had to flee their country forever, to never go home again, to live in fear, the ones that are left that are living in fear. And don't have what they need and are afraid every day. And, you know, the ones that are here are also afraid because they're in a new country, in a new world. And I just feel very grateful that we live in freedom and that we live in safety. So that's my thankfulness this year.
Thank you for sharing that.
Well, I'm grateful for many things, all of the things that people have said. I'm grateful that I've already cooked my Thanksgiving meal and I'm done. That turkey's cooked and I'm done. But I'm also thankful because our anniversary is November 24th, so it's not falling on Thanksgiving. So we can celebrate a day early. Although, and it's actually worked out well that we did it earlier so that my anniversary can be our anniversary as opposed to having to cook the day before Thanksgiving. So that actually worked out.
That is a nice way. Olivier, you asked what step we're on. We are actually pretty much towards the end. So we have our onions and celery and carrots with the garlic in it, and then the tomato sauce, the tomato paste, the tomatoes, the tomato paste, the water, and we've put in our potatoes and our bouquet garni, and we are just waiting for it to kind of cook a little bit more, so the potatoes are a little bit more cooked, and then pretty soon we're going to add. We can probably go ahead and add the kale.
We're on
and
the
then
same step.
good, excellent. So you were here.
And make sure you smell it. It
This does smell so good. Olivia, Kelly said that we think that she thinks that we'll be seeing you on Iron Chef one day, and I would totally concur. I see a great cooking future for you, so I hope that you will lead us again on Kind Soups as well.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and add my kale. And right now I have about one huge package. And as I'm putting it in, I'm sort of pulling out any hard bits that I had chopped up by accident.
Did you put your beans in?
No, it's interestingly, it says to put the beans in and right at the end. I'm probably going to put my beans in, you know, pretty soon, as soon as I get my kale in and kind of smush down a little bit, just so that because the beans from the can, I did rinse them and drain them, and I found them when I made it on Saturday. They're definitely still have some bite to them, so I don't think that there's anything wrong with putting them in when you put the kale in, and help them just get a little bit softer. And then too, the thing to do is, you know, once we have everything in and it's kind of cooked down, you'll want to taste it and adjust for salt and pepper, and any other, you know, any other spice if it needs a little bit more oregano, or, you know, pick out the bouquet garni once you've cooked it. The recipe does say once you have the kale in, which is I have now done, even though my potatoes are not super soft and squishy yet, to cook it another 10 minutes or so. So we'll be done by then. So we'll probably all want to keep cooking it after the Zoom is over. And I have mine on medium heat at the moment. And I'm stirring it so nothing kind of burns on the bottom. Olivier, is your mom there? I had a question about the aquafaba. Hey, Martine.
Hi, hello.
I don't know if anybody's, do you know, does aquafaba, is it just from chickpeas, from garbanzo beans, or is it really from any bean that if you keep the liquid?
From what I understand, it's just the garbanzo beans.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not sure. I haven't done the research on it to find out why the chickpeas create the aquafaba, but I don't believe you get the same effect from other canned beans. I really don't know. Yeah, but I'll try to look that up.
That's a bit crazy that you can just make whipped cream out of that.
And have you all done that? And Olivia, do you like the cookies and the meringues that your mom makes from it?
Well, it's been a long time. I don't think he recalls when I made the meringue from it, but I did. I mean, yeah, it's been so long. I don't think you remember. I've only done it once, and it was probably 4 years ago. And I just, always think, oh, I should keep the water to make something, but then you don't have the time or whatever to make whatever the recipe, and so I end up not
Right.
doing it. It's yeah. So I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting how you can make that, whip it up.
Oh, I tasted a bit of it, and it
The
was.
soup? Well,
and
she's
it
talking
just
about
tasted,
aquafaba.
and it tasted very, very good.
Good.
Put your spoon back in there. You're
Does
double-
does anybody else have thoughts on things that you all are thankful for and grateful for and working towards in the world?
I have one.
Yes.
I'm thankful that we have this community to make these delicious soups.
Aw, that is so sweet, Olivia. Thank you.
I agree 100%. Selma, tell us again the number of soup courts that that KindWorks has gifted and given over the last year.
It's probably close to 7,000 quarts now, which is amazing. And yeah, it's gone to so many different people and organizations and particularly people in need. So it feels great. It just feels like we're making some soup, but in the end, it really is so meaningful for so many people. So it's a little something that.
Does everybody know where they can take their soups once they're cooled and packaged and frozen? Do you all have your places that you take them? Emily, and anybody else who's new? Good. Okay. Excellent.
I want to chime in terms of what I'm grateful for, because this is a really special year for us. We're also empty nesters this year for the first time. We have one son, so it's his freshman year. So he's coming home, but he's also bringing a friend who's from Dubai, who this will be his first Thanksgiving ever. So I'm really excited to have him here and be able to show him what Thanksgiving is all about. And we also have my elderly father, obviously for the first time in 2 years, since he was unable to leave his assisted living facility last year. So it's going to be a really special Thanksgiving for us as well.
That's wonderful. That is really wonderful. I had all 4 of my kids at home last night. My boys got home and my daughter was visiting just really briefly. And I took a picture and I sent it to my mom and my dad, and it was just incredible to have all 4 of them home, and then they'll be all back, here on Thursday too. So
Yeah,
that is
good
nice.
stuff.
Yes, very special. So is everybody, are y'all's potatoes getting there? And the kale's in nice good pieces. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for cooking, for, in this incredibly busy cooking week, to be dedicated and coming here and joining this community. So thank you so very, very much. Yes, Marge.
I just want to remind people that tomorrow it's going to be crazy. If you take your soup to Up County, I was told I should not get there until after 12 because they're busy distributing boxes to people, to the drivers. When I was there today, because someone gave me turkeys and I wanted to get them out of the freezer so I could have room for soup in the freezer. So I took these 2 turkeys up today, and they already had orange cones set up so that you couldn't drive into the area where you normally drop things. So tomorrow at Up County, not until afternoon, or save them for next week, or which might be very welcome, since I'm not sure what's going to really happen next week with that turkey soup. Is anyone clear on that? Salma, do you know?
So the leftover turkey soup recipe is on our website. It's really for everyone to cook on their own the day after Thanksgiving or whenever you'd like to make it. So the recipe is there. It's not a group session like this. And I just wanted to add, actually, in terms of sharing our soup, thank you, Marge, for collecting and sharing our soup. There are various other places where you can drop off soup. And just this past Saturday, I had a freezer full of soup outside my door, and we were able to get it to Afghan refugee families, as together with meals that another organization, Mosaic, prepares. So our soups and traditional meals for newly arriving Afghan families to celebrate their first Thanksgiving in this country. So another thing that I'm very grateful for, to be able to do this with all of you and to be able to share in this way. So thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, Alexa, for leading us. Soup smells amazing. Can't wait to try it. Thank you to Alexa's mom and friends for joining from Michigan and elsewhere. And thanks to all of you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you all. And don't forget, I just realized I haven't put my beans in it. I'm going to do that now. But thank you and enjoy the soup. Take care, everybody.
And
All right,
Thanks,
happy
Alexa.
Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alexa. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Oh, and is anyone gonna eat it for dinner?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yep.
I will eat it for dinner.
Enjoy. Take
Oh.
care, everybody.
Oh, can I quickly show you what it looks like?
Yes, please, Olivia, go for it. Are you still there?
Oh, wow.
Oh, that looks great, Olivier.
You know, I agree. My soup looks very thick, and I'm wondering if I should add more water. I don't have the beans in yet, and it looks so thick.
I think you should add some more water so that it's kind of liquidy.
You know, I'm thinking I might have to. Thank you. It's always nice to have Olivia guiding us.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.